Traditional free weights, raw iron, no question will stand the test of time, but I do think the future of resistance training lies in these electronic or digital resistance training machines. But specifically these little portable machines that are continuing to advance as technology is increasing. We're seeing more and more of these come out. I reviewed a lot of these in the past. This one I've been sitting on actually since August, and to make a long story short, they didn't want me doing this review till right about now. This is the Tousains HiveGym Power Pump, I believe is the name for this. What is crazy and I think a little bit special about this one is that this thing weighs about 2.5 pounds, and compared to some of the competition out there, which I'll touch on briefly, the Shogun Flex, the Unitree Power Pump, which I think is exactly the same machine as the Shogun, but I'll get to that. This thing actually goes up to roughly 11 pounds to 66 pounds or 5 to 30 kilos, and again, only weighs 2.5 pounds. It seems like I hyped up this product, but there are definitely some cons with these little machines. If you guys like this content, want to see more, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. But more specifically, I'm actually interested to see what you guys think. Do you think this is the future of resistance training, or do you think traditional free weights and old technology is going to be winning out over this stuff? We will see, but definitely comment down below. Full disclosure, as always, these guys sent these to me free for review. There is I think a promo code Mike10 saves you 10% off. I do think there's even a further bundle if you add more to that. I don't get any kickback whatsoever. I'm gonna be straightforward and honest, guys, so you can make your own decision about this. Jumping into it, like I said at the start, I've reviewed a lot of things that were electronic based, like the Speedians, platforms. Again, they all have their pros and cons. If you have a functional trainer, you probably don't need a lot of this stuff. I would say this is for the person who likes to travel, maybe who has a kind of a simple setup, a small space to work with, or you think it's kind of a novel, cool tool that you can just throw on your squat rack and do a lot of unique exercises, which I will say, you guys are seeing some background footage here in this workout. There are some things that legitimately feel better than my functional trainer as far as the resistance. These types of machines actually have a unique style of resistance. I can't really describe it. The best way to describe it is kind of like almost like a partner is pulling you back on this eccentric load. It is very smooth and controlled. Not to get too far in the weeds, but I do think there's gonna be some good comparisons between this machine that makes this stand out over some of the competition. I reviewed this Unitree pump, which I actually honestly thought this was like the version 2 of this. That was the same company. Then I thought the Shogun Flex was kind of the part 2 of the Unitree pump, and I realized like, no, that's actually a different company, or maybe it's the same company, just like whole rebranding and marketing, I don't know. But if you do compare the Unitree pump to the Shogun Flex, which made its way around the review circuit, I actually just passed on it because I feel like it was already done it justice, and because I feel like I already reviewed this product. This thing seemed like the exact same thing as the Shogun. I can't confirm that, but you just look at the aesthetics and the functions and features, it looks pretty much the same. Now, the standout features between the HiveGym and the Unitree pump, and you could say the Shogun Flex, but I can't totally comment on that, is that this one only does a few different functions. It only does like a regular resistance mode. There is an app with this. I honestly didn't even bother with it based on what I looked into it. This Unitree pump does have and also the Shogun Flex, does have an app to it, which I'll just say right up front is the biggest con I think with this machine. While this does have more features, I do think is unique and kind of cool if you want to take advantage of them. The biggest problem I have with this is I just hate connecting to my phone. I found that if I turn this thing on, sometimes I have to reset my password. I didn't know my password, so I have to go back in, do all that stuff over again. The biggest complaint, I said that where I think I would use this thing a lot more, is if this thing just had basic up-down features, I could see the weight display, and that is where the HiveGym actually comes in, because you actually turn this thing on. If it's out of batteries, this one's out of batteries. I'll actually get to that. And so is this one. We'll get to that in the concert, but that's good you actually saw that. When you turn this on, you actually can adjust this up and down from as low as 5 kilos to 30 kilos, which again is about 11 pounds to 66 pounds per unit. These things only go up to, and I say these things, the pump and the Shogun go up to about 44 pounds. So aside from the weight difference and the fact that this limits some functionality like eccentric mode, chain mode that this has, this thing does have the basic on-off thing. You don't have to toggle with any apps, which that is probably the biggest plus for me and the more likely asset that I'm gonna be using this over this, and why I actually do not even really use this thing at all. The other thing is that these are also cheaper based on what I'm seeing, even when you include discounts on the Shogun Flex and also the Unitree pump. What you get with this Tousains HiveGym Power Pump, whatever it's called, you get your standard fare stuff, a tote bag. Depending on the package you get extra handles. Again, you can get a pair of them if you want to. You get ankle straps. You got these suction cups, which when I tried this in August, which again, a long time ago when it was warm out, these things worked really well. And I was surprised they actually did stick on the cement here or the ground here in my garage. When I tried it in the cold weather, it gets much colder, I found that these things were not sticking. So maybe it's just the cold weather. I don't know. The point is I wasn't using these too much. I think they told you they gave you ankle straps, but I think the most useful attachment is either gonna be this one that just straps onto your feet, but I just found the best thing that works for me is this one right here, which has a loop down there, also a loop here. And what I do is I added on this additional carabiner so I could just string it around my functional trainer. I put it around my clench foot plate, also put it on my clench barbell, both things I've reviewed. I'll link those down below if you guys are curious. Those are for resistance bands, but it actually worked out really well for a variety of lower body exercises. I think I even threw my squat harness on here as well. Which is a cool feature to note, is that these things can really maximize your creativity in things that you have. Now, as far as the cons, one of which you already saw is the battery life, and I found this to be the same with the Unitree pump. Can't speak for the Shogun Flex, but I think all these things, if you want to use this as a standalone workout and start really ripping into this thing, like you guys saw here, I'm pretty sure the batteries were fully charged based on what I saw. You're lucky to get a full maybe 45 minutes if you're really tearing into it. By tearing into it, I mean you just constantly keep using it. This thing starts running kind of hot and you start challenging the weight settings. So you start noticing when this thing starts failing, it goes from green, different kind of like shades of purple, and then red, you know you're kind of running out of juice soon. And when you charge it, this thing is a little confusing how you charge it. Granted, I wasn't using the app, but when you charge it, it starts just having this little like light pulse green, so you can't totally tell when it's fully charged. But I'm pretty sure these were fully charged in this workout. Regardless, I wouldn't say you're gonna get a lot of use out of the battery, but I found this to be exactly the same thing when I was using the Unitree pump. When I started cranking on this, same amount of battery life, I would say. You were lucky to get 30 minutes of consistent use out of this. Other little minor things, there was some wear and tear on the handle canvas with some light use, but you can always replace those. I'd say the overall giant con with these is just the battery life. That's gonna be your biggest issue. These things are in that, I would say, novel category. It's not something that's gonna be completely useful and say take over your functional trainer, but like I said at the start, when I was doing some exercises like the seated chest press you saw, it was a very unique tension. It almost feels like it's kind of like a hard negative. So as far as the tension these things give off, I do think these things are great, especially in the key exercises like pressing, rows. You know I love my bicep curls, tricep extensions, abdominal crunches, felt great. So these are a great little accessory tool, definitely used. I think you get way more out of these if you have two versus one. That might be kind of too expected, and they're not too expensive. However, the biggest issue and question most people are gonna have is how long are these things gonna last with the battery and all the different moving parts with this. I assume technology is gonna increase. We're seeing a lot more cool things in the product. I'll be reviewing more of these in the future. But right now, my suggestion would be if you're looking to kind of spend your money on maybe a gift idea for somebody, you want to mix things up a little bit, this thing is definitely very cool. I think it's the best in class among these smaller electronic devices because the price is cheaper and the much higher weight increments. However, you are making a sacrifice for the different modes that are not present in this. But to me, it also makes up for it and not having to deal with an app and being able to use these analog buttons, simple on-off features. So this is something I'm gonna be continuing to use just because it is so fun. I can see if I'm traveling, I would definitely throw this in my travel bag because it does replicate a cable machine. In some ways, actually surpasses the feeling in some cable exercises. But if you got a functional trainer, odds are that's gonna beat this out because you don't have to charge anything up and you can quickly change things and not worry about battery life, etc. That's it. If you guys have any questions, comments, feedback, let me know. Curious your thoughts on these types of devices, if you guys like them, don't like them. See you guys in the next video. Again, promo code down below if you guys do want to check it out, help support me and the channel. I will see you guys on the next one.